Hey, welcome everybody. It is 7 o'clock. Time for Sci-Fi Distilled, and welcome back, Mary Beth.
Hello, hello.
And we are doing. Oh, I'm picking up that.
I stopped it. It stopped it. I was having a moment there.
No, I was picking a little echo from your.
Yes,
computer.
I turned it off. It's
Oh,
done.
I don't hear it. So
Oh, are
maybe-
you still hearing an echo?
Yeah. Now because I said echo, my stupid echo is going off.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I think it will be fine. It is still Star Wars month. We'll get back on track.
It is still Star Wars month.
So we got one more week, but we had
Yes.
to do Andor wrapped last week. At least they were doing these 3-episode clusters, which is an interesting way of releasing it. But I think it worked for that show because they were little time jumps. I love how they were doing so many years before Battle of Yavin.
Yes, I loved that. I loved it. I love being able to keep track. Sometimes
I think we have news first, though.
I only have a little bit of news tonight. First of all, guys, today is the 22nd. The Sunday is the 25th. And if you have not seen it already, I highly, highly, highly recommend watching 5/25/77. Just to mark the 25th. I think it's just as Star Wars-y as Star Wars. I don't know. Yeah. Moving on. In my very sporadic segment, I watched it so you don't have to. I watched season 4 of Love, Death, and Robots. And my review is you don't have to run right out and watch it, but if you love anthologies, if you love Death, and Robots, you should get around to it eventually. Maybe not as strong as previous seasons, but it was still fun to watch. And, this super short episodes, you can watch a couple of them and kill some time. So, yeah, I'm going to say 1 thumbs up. Loved it. What about you, Rizzo? What did you think? You saw a few, right?
I haven't watched them all. Yeah, they're always well done. It's not truly an anthology
well done.
In the sense that the stories aren't connected.
I don't think you have to be connected to be an anthology.
I thought an anthology was individual stories that had a common thread, but or some kind of connection.
Well, the common thread here was kind of like religion.
They're all animated. That's the common
cats.
thread.
A lot of cat episodes.
They're all, yeah. I mean, I don't know. There weren't the 3 robots again, right?
No, I missed them.
Good.
Those are the best.
Those were some of the best ones. But no, I haven't. I watched that first one with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which was really interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was fun.
And then the one I love the little tiny alien one, the alien invasion.
Yes, they did.
Mini alien invasion one was.
It was a Close Encounters of the Mini Kind. The previous one was what was the previous one? Night of the Mini Dead.
Yeah.
And this one was Close Encounters of the Mini Kind. I love those.
Those were really well done. So yeah, we do recommend. It's worth watching. Like I said, you could binge them all in like an hour.
Yes, you can.
Or like a season because they're just all like shorts. They're not very long.
Yeah. Right. Moving on. Strange New Worlds. Finally, what took so long for them to announce this? Thursday, July 17th, 2 episodes will be out, and then every Thursday until September 11th. And you guys already know this.
They're going to do 2 episodes every week, or just 1 after that?
Sorry, 2 episodes the first week, and then 1 episode every week.
Yeah.
What took so long?
Still not going to get me to buy Paramount Plus.
I know people are leaving Paramount Plus.
And again, it's not. There are some really good shows actually on Paramount Plus, especially if you're a what's the guy's name? That wrote all those Yellowstone and all.
Oh,
those,
I
can't think of his name, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
They seem to run all. They're all good shows. The one that just had Harrison Ford and
yes,
1923 or whatever it was.
Whatever it was
actually pretty good. I thought that was really a pretty good one. So and Landman's good. That's another good show on there. Lioness is good.
They're shooting themselves in the foot.
Taylor Sheridan. That's the guy I was trying to think of.
I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, so I don't know why they can't get Star Trek good.
Yeah, moving on. Star Trek rumors. So Trek Central, which is a Star Trek website, we're digging around, and one place that people routinely look is actually, believe it or not, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, because any of these franchises, any franchise, when they're getting ready to announce to launch something new, the first thing they do is they patent everything so that it can't be stolen from them. So Trek Central was digging around the Patent and Trademark Office, and they say supposedly, maybe, possibly, rumor has it, that Paramount Plus is developing a new Star Trek animated series for little kids. This thing is going to be targeted ages 3 to 10. That's little. Prodigy was popular with established fans. It didn't draw anybody new. I don't know if this is some kind of like get them while they're young kind of thing. I don't know how I feel about this.
I don't know.
Okay,
it's just like everybody I talk to seems to have very similar, and maybe it's because I'm in the circles of people my own age and
exactly
and stuff that nobody seems really that thrilled about Starfleet Academy. Most people are not happy. They didn't like Discovery. They're not happy with Strange New Worlds. They're Prodigy again was what it was.
Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I wouldn't say it's split. I'd say there's like a 75-25 split on Lower Decks of 75 people percent of the people liked it. And there's people that just didn't like it. I think there's a certain population of Star Trek fans that hold Star Trek to this kind of higher standard or something that you can't mess with the formula, and it be joking was like somehow an offense to them. Like you're tarnishing it by making it funny or making fun.
I don't know that it tarnished it at all.
I don't agree with that. I'm just saying that's my theory. I don't know why you wouldn't like it if you're a fan, because it touched all across the whole.
Oh God, everywhere.
And it was funny. It was clever, and yeah. So,
and as I always say it with me: you have to know Star Trek inside out and backwards to get
the Easter eggy jokes. But I still think that.
So if you're
just watching it cold, I think Lower Decks would still appeal to people in general, even if they didn't know Star Trek that well. I think we find it even funnier. I think they'd
be missing out on so much. They'd be.
Well, I mean, they were definitely going for a Rick and Morty vibe,
to
some degree, and I think it would appeal to more people than. But you're right; it was definitely made for the fans.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Last piece of news for the night, and then we will move on. Star Wars news, and it is sort of tied to Andor. And this is also from the rumor mill. And unlike Trek Central, which went digging around in the patent office, there's no basis for this. This is just the rumor mill. There are rumblings that Lucasfilm has more plans for the character of Bix. If you guys remember Bix, that was Cassian's girlfriend person. It is unclear where she will appear next, but the character's story may not be in an end. Theories, wrong theories, but theories continue to swirl that Poe Dameron could be her and Cassian's son. Remember at the end she had a baby?
Yeah.
That could be Poe. I don't believe that particular theory.
I don't know if the timing's right for that.
It is just right. Just tight right, but yeah, just about. Yeah, I mean, Bix, whatever. Do we really need? No, we don't need Bix. Leave Cassian, like his sacrifice was pure. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Side note, we do see, and you only see it for like 2.5 seconds. The pistol Cassian uses in Rogue One is the one Bix used in season 2 of Andor. So he is running around with her pistol to remember her by, I guess, at the end of Rogue One.
Well, there's tons of little Easter. That's one of the things about it. Are we moving on to Andor now?
Yes, we're ready. Well, actually, tell us what we're going to drink. But yes, we're ready to move on.
We are drinking, and this is from, I guess, the wedding Andor, one of the parent embassy punch.
Oh, the wedding.
Yeah. So, gin, Kochi Americano. I have no idea what that is. I'm not probably pronouncing it wrong. Blue curacao, orange bitters, and absinthe, and then that shows you how to make it. You just spritz it with absinthe. So, I don't know what I don't know what that. I have to look that up. But anyway, it looked interesting. So there it is. It's on the website or on the Facebook page, I should say. Should you want to look it up? Anyway, there it is. Okay, so Andor. So wow, this is a show as we've been calling it Star Wars for grown-ups. And yes. I think one of the keys, you've pointed this out multiple times, is what's different. Well, no cutesy. Well, there's a droid, but he's funny, and but there's no Jar Jar, there's no Ewoks, there's no Jawas. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, it is serious. It is dark. It shows you a side of the rebellion that isn't just this nice white pristine kind of we're the good guys side of things, and that how
Yes.
in a rebellion you have to get your hands dirty, very dirty,
Yes.
to do that. So I think it was well made in that sense that we got to see this kind of other side. Anyway, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but they also dropped a ton of little Easter eggs for the fans in there. You have to, and some of this stuff is very, very like, only way I picked it up was when some YouTuber said, "Did you catch this?" Like the pistol
Same.
that Andor stole from Cyril in season 1 ends up coming back in season 2. When she picks it up, she goes, "Who's this?" At the
Yes.
the 8th episode, he's like, "That's mine," and that was because remember Andor ended up giving it to him on that other mission when they're out. And then there's the manifesto. Remember the young kid that was part of that whole one of Andor's first jobs he had from Lucian there, where they had to attack that Imperial thing, and there was the young
try to
kid.
steal the
He was very, I can't think of his name, but
yes, the guy that actually was saying those words that what's his name was listening to at the end right before he
right there was right. He was listening to his
Great
manifesto
speech.
at the end. He was very positive. He didn't end up surviving that mission. The kid, he was a nice, kind of a, just kind of had that innocence to him, and he had written that manifesto, and then the guy was listening to the manifesto in like the last episode,
and it's good.
So the little things like that, they were sticking, but how they connected all these dots across. Like, granted, it's only 20 episodes total.
Yes,
the whole show is 20 episodes.
So you could.
That's not even a season back in our day.
Yeah.
But it was so well done, and it was, a lot of times I think in the first season, I think people are going, well, why like we get 3 episodes and he's doing this, and then he's in jail for 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And you notice at the end, Nero's in the same prison that they put Nero in the same prison.
Yes, I saw that he was in with Andy Serkis. Yeah.
And there was a great character. Her arc was, and there's been a thing like this theory that, well, really, the rebels only were able to blow up the Death Star because of her hubris, her screw up.
Yeah, because
if she hadn't started digging, they wouldn't have been found that there was plans to this thing, and people had already put all this threads together. If she hadn't have done this wouldn't have happened, and this wouldn't have, and then it all goes down to the bottom, and they wouldn't have been looking for the plans in the first place.
And you could argue that Cyril died because of his hubris too. Like, he was just hell-bent and determined to get Cassian.
And Cassian didn't even remember who he was.
And Cassian had no idea who he was. Yeah, this is such a well-crafted show, just all around. So enjoyable to watch. So and to see all the little machinations.
But see, what this proves to me is that Disney can produce something that is the fans enjoy. I think I've heard very little negativity across the fandom over this. So, why can't you look at stuff like this and say, okay, this is what we want? Instead, we got, whatever the hell that thing, whatever the Acolyte was. And it's just, so you can make something. And I don't think this costs a lot less to make than the Acolyte did. It wasn't cheap.
No, it wasn't cheap.
But of course, one of the interesting things about this show, like as opposed to like Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett, where they use the volume and they do this one was all practical sets.
Yes, it was. We talked about that. This show and Ahsoka are both going to on location. They're leaving the volume and going to on location. This just did it on location, and Ahsoka will be on location for its next season. So they, despite the money saving the money saving advantages of the volume, on location is giving us just more beautiful, just beautiful scenes and beautiful locations and everything. So I don't know. Yeah. It's expensive.
It's just interesting to how they make different decisions. It just proves that this wasn't done by a different production house. It wasn't done. It was still Lucasfilms at Disney. Kathleen Kennedy was still roughly at the helm.
Yeah.
Allowed them to do.
This was Tony. What was his last name? Gilmore or Gilson? What's Tony's last name?
I think
Gilroy.
Gilroy.
This was his baby, and I'm gonna take my hat off to you, Tony. You did a good job.
Yeah, and And again, but even he said like he had to go to Kathleen and ask for things
and say, "I want to do this." Okay.
And she said yes.
Yeah.
He
lucked out that she said yes. She could have gotten
which
so
is
much
unusual
pushback.
because usually she's kind of a
yeah, you know what? I'm going to give Kathleen props there too because I will give her props for keeping the rest of the studio off
I still
Tony's
say a
back.
broken clock's wrong, right twice a day.
Twice.
She's going to hit one every once in a while. One's going to hit, but I think the point is that they have the ability, they have the writers, they have the talent to make a show that is really, really good. This wasn't just mediocre. This show was very, very good.
Very good.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just, it was okay. We watched, it was watchable, or we entered it entertaining. This is the kind of thing you'll go back and rewatch.
Yeah. Excellent characters, excellent scenes, excellent plot twists, not twists, but just the way the plot unfolded was carried you right along. And you just, you never had a bored moment. Well, you might have risen. You didn't like the wedding. Other than that,
I thought there were some episodes, and this is kind of a problem across, I think, a lot of modern television, whether it's sci-fi or drama, is there's two things that I noticed they're doing. And we're not even getting like hour episodes. They were like 40 minutes, They put in filler shots that are just, and they're doing this a lot more. I noticed we were talking about 1923 and Yellowstone and stuff like that, and those type of shows. They'll put in these beauty shots where they're just riding through the meadows for like 5 minutes. Yeah. And nothing's really happening. It's just them. It's just that
they travel. Like,
or there's a band. Yeah. They're at a festival, and we got to listen to the entire song that a band's playing. Because and that to me is just we're stretching. We're trying to fill in the episode. We don't have that's one thing, and they've done it a little bit on this. This show wasn't egregious with it, but the one other thing that I find that a lot of shows are doing is just, and again, I think it's partly a money saving thing, is talking heads. There was one episode of Andor we went from two people talking to another two people talking to two different other people talking. And it was like the whole episode was just talking, more people talking, and nothing really happening in between action-wise. It was just talking.
Bother me because that to me is adult television. If you're listening to what they're saying,
it is. But I still think it needs to be broken up. I think it needs to be broken up a little bit, and I know they do it partly because it saves money. It's cheaper to shoot that scene than an action scene. So I think they're doing a lot of it. I think it's intentional.
Yeah, maybe
to not only fill out the episode, but to save a little bit of money. But Game of Thrones would do it too. But Game of Thrones again was much better because every once in a while, then they'd stick in something, they jump to somebody else, and something else would be happening.
Yeah.
But then when we got to House of Dragon, they went to the same model where it's just the whole episode's just people talking, and it's not that kind of show. We want a little bit of action.
That one big dragon attack.
Yeah, like I'm saying, then they'll have an episode where they clearly spent all their money, and it's all dragons.
It's dragon episode, okay, yeah.
So
riddle me this, Batman. Here's a theory that I want to bounce off of you, because and before I do that, I love. Can you see the chat? I love that.
Yeah, that's a new feature.
I'm so glad that's there now because now everyone watching or over here this side, whatever side it is, everyone watching on YouTube can see when we go. Oh, so and so says this. Now they know what we're talking about. Yeah. Connor was just saying that Tony Gilroy had rapport with Kennedy, and that may well be true. However, it happened. It worked out really well.
Yeah, I'm not gonna question it.
Yeah, we're not gonna question it. But did Tony conceivably have an easier or harder job of it because he already had Rogue One? He already knew his end destination. He just had to get to it. Or he could go from there and work backwards. What do you think? Do you think it made it easier or harder or better that we had a destination?
I think it's probably a little column A, a little column B, because I think, it gave him an endpoint of where he was going, but he still had to fill in that structure and remain within that canon.
Yes.
See, that's why I thought was we saw Bix, and I'm like, well, something's going to happen with Bix because he clearly has a thing for Jyn Erso. At the end, hugging and
You
kissing.
know what? Yeah, they did hug. You're right. They hugged at the end, but I thought it was just despair because they knew they were dying.
I think there was an emotional connection there.
The first time I saw it, I thought they had a connection. The second time I saw it, I did not. I did not.
I
think I don't know.
But that was a minor. That was a minor thing. But again, I was right. She left him for whatever, So we knew that she was out of the picture, so he didn't feel like he was cheating on her if he was, going after Jin. No, I think he had a thing for Jin. I think he was kind of. I think he did. Because I really did. So it was funny because we watched the last episode of Andor and immediately turned on.
I'm like, turn it on. So we turn it on. Yeah. It was. You didn't even have to. Disney queued it up for you. Like if you're watching on Disney Plus,
yeah, it was like
Rogue One for you. So and then after you watch Rogue One, cue it right into A New Hope. It's amazing.
No, mine didn't. Mine did not show A New Hope. I
really?
did not cue that up. What else? It was some other random Star Wars thing. So it did not.
But it's so beautiful. Like there were a few little things that suddenly you got in Rogue One that you didn't get before. You're like, oh, and then there's Mothma and Bail, and you're like, oh, and
that was one of my only disappointments was that we didn't see Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa. And I have no problem with what's his name.
Benjamin Bratt. I thought Benjamin Bratt was awesome. I thought he did great.
He did fine. He did fine. It's just I'm like, if you're gonna keep, and I know there was they said Jimmy Smits was busy, and I'm like, doing what?
He probably had another gig.
I don't know. I always questioned
totally fine. Benjamin was fine.
No, he was fine, and I think he was about as seamless a person as you could get to fill. They're very similar looking actors in the way they kind of. So again, I had no issue with Benjamin Bratt. I just would have liked to have seen Jimmy Smits in that role as a continuation of it.
Because we'd had him. We had him for so many movies.
Yeah. You had him from all the way back from when did we first see him? Was in Revenge of the Sith? Was that when we first see Bail?
Yeah, early on. Yeah, Revenge of the Sith.
Or was it Clone Wars?
Or it might have been. I think we saw Jimmy Smits first. Then we saw. You know what? I'm not sure.
Well, because didn't they bring him in? But they had him for the Obi-Wan show, didn't they?
Yeah, but we still would have seen him Revenge of the Sith. We've been seeing Jimmy Smits as Bail for years now.
Yeah, that's why I say that's why it kind of bothered me that.
Yeah, but just going back to how tight it was. The last episode of Andor and the first activities, the first actions of Rogue One are literally like 24 hours, 48 hours.
Yeah, it's something like that because he said they were going. Yeah, he was heading toward when he left at the end. Where was he going?
At the end of Andor, he leaves, and you're like, "Oh, that's where he was going. He was going to get. He was going to see his friend. His starts with a T, and kill him confirm that they had Jester because they'd gotten the information in Andor. They have Jester, and they didn't believe it. Like, what? No. So he goes to get the confirmation, and he gets it, and then they're like, "Oh shit, the game is on." So yeah. And then he grabs Jyn Erso and he brings her back, and that's when all that happened. Like, it was chef's kiss writing. I mean,
it was very well done. It's really done. Like I said, and they did really good with the cast. What's his name? Stellan that played Luthen.
Oh, Stellan Skarsgård.
He played, really his character was really good. Again, he wasn't really fully on board with the rebellion as an organization. You could tell he still was like he wanted to go on. And there are so many cool things. If you watch the show, anytime you're in his antique store, you got to start pausing at points
and look antique store is Easter eggs.
So one of the things was, which I cracked up, I almost did a spit take, was a Gungan skull. They stuck that in there for the fans. The majority of us do not care for Jar Jar. There was another thing that looked like the hand signal from Close Encounters.
Yeah, this thing like and this whatever. Yeah, that was from Rebels, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of the thing from Close Encounters, the hand signal.
Yeah, it did. The hand signal.
There was the other things that were in there. There was a lot of stuff that was referenced in there.
Oh, there was stuff. If you guys are interested in that kind of thing, I highly recommend either New Rock Stars or Screen Crush. They are amazing. They do amazing video breakdowns, and they find all the Easter eggs and point them out to you, and it's phenomenal. It'll point them all out. They're like this, and they translate. If there's something in a foreign language, like in Star Wars, it's in whatever that language is. They'll translate all that for you, so it knows.
Even the thing like the name of the hospital If you look
the
at
name
it,
of the
it was
hospital
in
was Easter
Amish,
egg.
and then if it actually translated to Lena So, who was like
Yeah,
a
Lena
former
So,
chancellor
yeah.
of the Republic. I mean, really, really deep
Just
cuts
Easter eggs upon
on
Easter
stuff that
eggs.
they
Yeah.
did, and it took somebody took the time to do that.
Yeah.
Trying to think of what else was in Luthen's. I did love the scene when she goes when Nero goes in there and she's she's setting him
Yeah,
up.
she goes, is anything
And
in here real?
she pulls out that thing that was that Imperial doohickey
Yeah.
that was all the way from like the first episode.
Yeah.
You
Just
know,
to rub his face in it.
just to show that we're finally
Which was kind of her undoing. If she had waited for her crew, he wouldn't have killed himself. She could have just captured him live, which was what she wanted.
Oh yeah, no, she was arrogant. Her own arrogance.
But the conversation was so brilliant. Is anything in here? Well, what does she ask him exactly? Is everything in here real, or is
she's like, how much is real and how many things are fake?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, just obviously,
like,
she's saying she's
talking about them,
she's
right?
referring to him.
Yeah, he's goes,
how many things are in here are genuine and how many are fake.
Yeah.
And he knows what's going on. He wasn't being taken at all into who she was. I mean, he knew full well.
Oh yeah, he knew the drill as soon as she
Yeah, so he had every intention of killing himself. You would have thought though he would have that was a niggle. I did have a niggle with that scene though, because I would have thought he would have had a more clever way to kill himself than to try to gut himself like
yeah, because that's not a done deal. You could survive that.
Well, that he obviously did, and you'd think like he'd be more like a CIA agent with a
unless he was absolutely certain that Clay would come to finish the job.
What's that?
Unless he was absolutely certain Clea would come finish the job.
I don't think he would have relied on that. He wasn't that type of character.
Yeah. I don't think he was.
No, I said, Jesus, you think he would have had something more? Because he pretty much knew he probably wasn't ever get off Coruscant, and knew that they'd come for him eventually. So he had to have that planned. I would just thought he would have had something, especially since he was burning the radio out. Trying to get whatever would destroy. So he knew they were coming.
Had warned him. He knew.
I just think he would have come up with something like a cyanide pill type thing, or whatever.
Or just shoot himself. I mean,
shoot himself in the head, or
he should have been more certain about that. But
I just thought he would have come up with something a little bit more permanent and quick.
Permanent. Yeah.
Which that whole scene in the hospital was great, by the way. I mean,
yeah, it was great. Clea, they're like, it's got to be two of them working together. It's just Clea by herself.
Yeah. And that actress, from what I understand, did I understand that right? That she's like never really did anything up until this point.
She's straight out of drama school.
Yeah. So, and she was fantastic.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to kind of get a little bit of a look into their backstory. I don't know that we needed it. I think
I guess she's done stuff back in 2020. Her goes back to Grapes, to Short, Hard Pass, Gentleman Jack, The Outlaws.
Oh, her stuff?
She's apparently in Wicked.
Okay.
And
whatever.
Then Andor.
So no, I just think it was great to see Luthen and Clea's backstory.
Yeah. That was kind of a neat, and that was Naboo.
Yeah.
When they blew up the bridge.
Oh yeah, you see them evolve as not they weren't really Connors. I don't know, they were just operatives. But you see them evolve, and
they're on their own. They're not like really actively working for anybody.
Yeah, they're not the rebellion, but they're operatives of something. The rebellion was so disorganized until it finally sort of came together. And
then we know Saul was off on his own.
Saul was doing his own thing, but Saul went crazy huffing the.
I think that was his breathing thing, because he sounded a lot. You never know. You notice when he did breathe, it sounded a lot like Darth Vader.
Yeah, he did. I noticed.
So that was I think intentional.
Can you guys remind me what Saul was huffing? It was fuel. It was a.
I thought it was just he just needed oxygen every once in a while.
No, he was huffing that R. Starts with an R. Rhododendron. No. Rosidium. Rhodium.
Okay, you see, that's new to me then.
There was a whole scene where he's telling the young kids with him, and he's telling them, and the kid takes his mask off.
In Andor,
there's a whole thing about him huffing that stuff, and it made him crazy. That's why I saw.
There's a few episodes where I kind of dozed off, so that's why I need to go back and rewatch. I'm getting old, man. You sit there and you put the TV on. It starts, it puts me. Sometimes I go to sleep. So there's definitely.
The show, but you dozed off.
Well, I got to put it on like first, not like the third show of the night. So, I'll rewatch it. I plan to rewatch the whole series beginning to end anyway.
Yes, so. Please do. And then you can see how Saw Gerrera had gone crazy, huffing.
Well, he was clearly nuts, and he had also broke off on his own. And we kind of saw that. If you read the novels, you'll see that was a
Righto. Yeah, but what was the full name?
The rebellion had that problem where there was a lot of cells that were kind of forming, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. Is that you had all these little cells doing their own thing, and then they were trying to bring them under the one alliance umbrella.
Yeah.
And that's what Paul didn't want to go. In the novels, there was another senator that wouldn't go. He was I can't think of his name, but he was from Corellia, and he went off on his own and did his own thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a common theme.
And then her leaving did a lot to sort of solidify things. You see at the very first episode of season 2, you see the rebellion, and they're a hot mess. They are a hot mess. There's infighting. They're too busy fighting with each other to focus on anything else. And you, at that point, in this first episode of season 2, you're like, how are we ever going to get to the rebellion that we see in A New Hope?
What else is important that they showed you is how they got financed. Because you're like, well, where are they getting all these ships from and everything? You know what I'm saying? And all these weapons. And they kind of fleshed that out with Mon Mothma's character and where the money, how she gave, because she was wealthy. And her husband was such a douche. But because you saw at the end he was with somebody else like right away.
He was with their son-in-law's mother.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
So that didn't take long.
Hi, Dennis Chevalier.
So
Bill is saying he thought it was interesting the way Andor helped build the Death Star. Yeah, Andor worked on it, and you have to imagine that Dedra is working on the second Death Star, where she's in that prison.
Oh, in parts wise. Well, yeah, because they finished it by the time of the end of this show. They finished the first one, right? Because we saw that in Rogue One when them just putting the big dish on and stuff like that. So, and I'm glad, it's so awesome that they brought back, like a lot of the original actors. And it's good that it was only 2016. So we're, it was getting to be almost 10 years ago, but the actors have aged enough that it was a problem, like in Krennic and stuff like that. Because there was one of if you watch Rogue One, I didn't realize that they de-aged Krennic for that opening scene where they go and get.
Yeah, they did de-age him, which was probably wise comparatively.
Yeah, so it was I'm just saying it's like it was good that they did this show when they did it and they didn't wait too long. And then some of these people that
they did not de-age Vader's voice though. Vader, when you listen to Vader in Rogue One, you can tell it was still James Earl back then, and you can tell the age is in his voice a lot.
Yeah, well, it's going to be that way.
It makes me sad. Like it kind of made me a little choked up when I heard it.
Even though now with AI they could probably recreate his voice to the.
Oh, he gave permission. James Earl Jones gave permission.
And he did a bunch of recordings, I think, as well. Yes. The same thing as like Majel did.
Yes.
Like before AI and stuff, you guys know that Majel recorded a bunch of words and lines and things so that they could use her voice as the Star Trek computer forever.
Yeah. And James Earl Jones will be the voice of Vader forever.
Forever. Right.
Also gave permissions for them to take clips and maybe record something. I don't know.
Yeah, with computers they can recreate. Now, this is kind of sidebar. If you've played, anybody who's Indiana Jones fan has played the one that just came out a few months ago, Indiana Jones game. That's not Harrison Ford's voice. That's an actor that sounds scary. Like even Harrison's like, what the hell you need me for?
Really?
This guy sounds exactly like a young Harrison Ford. Damn. Play the game. You will swear it's his voice that they somehow recreated. It's actually an actor.
I hear that now.
Yeah, it's actually an actor. Amazing. It's amazing. Go on YouTube. You can click and listen to it. It's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle or something like that. And it's a great game. It's one of the better games that's come out. I think it gets you the feel of the original film, and the fact that it's his voice. It works really well. So
cool.
Anyways,
I want to talk about our antagonists here. I want to talk about Krennic a little bit because he was kind of the big bad. He was really the big bad of Rogue One, but he's becoming the big bad over the course of Andor. But all he really was like middle management. Like his whole job was to tell everyone work harder and make your goals, or upper management's going to come and kill y'all. Like that was.
I think I think he did more than that. It's just that we didn't see it because again, if you read, there's some prequel novels to Rogue One, not about Cassian, but more about Urso and
Galen Urso, yeah.
Jalen's journey to where he ends up at the beginning of Rogue One. So it's kind of like his pre-story.
Oh,
and
so
at one point, him and Krennic were friends.
Yeah, I got that.
And Krennic is an engineer in his own right. He's not just a paper push. He is an engineer. He has, that kind of thing. So I think he's doing more, that he's overseeing how these parts are coming together. And of course, he's also clearly part of his job is to keep this thing secret and to kind of perpetuate or make sure that the lie that this is all part of the Emperor's new power plan,
energy program
and energy plan, and not that he's building a super weapon. So I think you're right. But when we see him now, I thought it's interesting because the uniform always kind of screwed me up, because I always thought just the white and the black was supposed to be just ISB, or only the white tunics and the black pants. But Krennic wears the same thing, and he is not ISB.
And a cape.
Yeah, and a cape.
Yeah, Krennic may have been an engineer, but he's clearly all management. By the time we meet him, he's clearly all management.
Yeah, no, clearly. But I mean, when you think about the scope of the project that he's working on, I mean, you have to. And that's why they're saying they're gutting planets, because think about how much material they need to build this thing.
Yeah, that's why they had to do what they did on Gore.
Right, that's what they were needing all that stuff for Gore.
But when you think about the scope of the project, one, there had been way more engineers and people like just Galen and Krennic. Like, there had been tons of them. But two, how did they keep this thing secret? Like, this should have been impossible to keep
because
secret. Especially once it actually started.
You got to remember, you're talking about
a fascist.
Fascist, yeah, but it was we're talking about hiding something in the galaxy.
Yeah, I guess, but
it's in a place where nobody goes.
Wow. But then did everyone wonder why so many people were getting shipped out to that place?
If you read a lot of the novels and stuff, they actually flesh a lot of this stuff out, like how they were shipping. There was a couple of Thrawn books actually lead into this too, where that Timothy Zahn wrote, and that's Thrawn's kind of pre-story. And there was stories about them, how they routed materials to certain places, like these clearinghouses, where then it would go back out. It was all to try to hide where it was going, so it would end up eventually where the Death Star was. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And who was building it.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of covering that, like how that all was going on. It was a massive, infrastructure of
a massive operation. I'm stunned. Like, and on here on Little Planet Earth, when people talk about conspiracy theories and like, oh, the government cover up, you're like, there's no way, because people. So the fact that they pulled this off is stunning. It's just absolutely stunning.
Well, I mean, it is fantasy, obviously, but again, we're not talking about a free society.
Yeah, that's true.
We're talking about a fascist, totalitarian,
Fair point.
Run, and of course, they're controlling everything. They're controlling all sources of media. They're controlling all information in or out, and
that's
anybody
true.
that
They
gets
did make
close,
a really good point of them controlling the media. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the whole Gore thing.
It's completely plausible, on the scale of the universe.
Yeah.
Now, if they were building it here and the only place was the planet, we'd notice another moon in the sky.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually. Area 51 bill was just a way for the government invented that just to throw off all the whatever the nutballs, so they'd have something to think that the aliens came. So it was a distraction.
It was just a distraction.
Don't look over here at this. Don't look over here. Look over at this.
I see your name tonight is K2SO. We did get to see K2's origin story in this.
As soon as I saw that they had brought this, I'm like, oh, here, we're going to find out how you got K2SO. I love it how he's like, I'd really appreciate it if you wouldn't point that at me.
Yeah, but we both pretty much adore Alan Tudyk. So
yeah,
I think
Alan can do no wrong.
He can do no wrong. He's up there with Stellan Skarsgård, that they can do no wrong.
Resident Alien, by the way, is next month comes out.
Yes, Resident Alien is coming in
June something.
July?
June.
I reported on that back when I found out, and I've already forgotten.
Yeah, it was June. It's June something. I forgot the exact date, but
I
yeah,
can look it back.
so.
I can report on it again if you guys need to.
That show's already won like so many Emmys and stuff. We're probably gonna have to do it when that wraps up. If they do when they do the final.
Oh, we need a huge Resident Alien wrap up. That one's
yeah,
fun.
It's really good. But yeah, you guys know. I mean, Alan is just he's amazing talent, and I didn't realize I was watching a behind the scene thing with him. And I didn't realize that for him to do K2SO, he didn't just do the voice. They had him in a motion capture suit on stilts, walking around, and he kind of made the joke where he's getting into the cockpit. Because they were saying, because he's like, it's great to see everybody again, from Rogue One. He goes, I get to fly a ship again, and I never crash it. Well, not this one. Anyway.
Not this one.
A leaf on the wind.
Yeah.
So,
Alan is cool.
Alan is great. Like I said, I got to meet him briefly in Montreal last year, or about a year ago, July. So he seemed like a really nice guy. And he's worked. He's one of the hardest working. He does. You look at it's like his voiceover work alone is just massive. So
yeah, he's every other voice. Him and D. Bradley Baker. They're like every other voice. And Terpsichore, whatever, like Fred Terpsichore, whatever his name is, that guy that did he was on Lower Decks. They are everyone's voice. Like their names always come up.
And this show had a lot of cameos that you probably didn't even know because they were either in makeup or in a stormtrooper outfit. So like Simon Pegg played an alien.
Yeah, Simon Pegg was.
There was somebody else that played a stormtrooper.
Let's see if I can pull up
look it up now. But like a lot of little things that they stuck in there that people didn't know. You would never have known.
Daniel Craig, supposedly.
Daniel Craig, he was a stormtrooper.
A stormtrooper.
Yeah.
They had kicked around briefly the idea of trying to write Jyn Erso into this thing. They didn't, and you know what? I'm glad they didn't, because she would have been off doing whatever.
No, she wouldn't have fit the story. Yeah. No, wouldn't have fit the story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of there was another cameo. Our good friend there from you always crap. You love him.
I love him. Whoever it is, I love him.
You do, and it's the guy that did the Oh Joy.
Oh.
Sam Whitworth.
Oh, Sam Whitworth. I do love Sam Whitworth.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. He's another one.
He was a stormtrooper in season 1.
Also, this is I did not realize, guys. I guess I'm an idiot, but I did not realize that Mads Mikkelsen played Galen Erso, and Lars Mikkelsen, his brother, is playing Thrawn. Did not realize. Did not make that connection.
And
brothers.
I do have an issue with that, and not him as an actor, but he didn't come.
I know you have Thrawn.
He's not Thrawn.
You have Thrawn issues.
I do. I have.
You need to write Lars a sternly worded letter. Say, man, you need to lose about 20 pounds.
Yeah, he needs to lose weight. He needs to grow about 6 inches. And he has to get more of a. He needs a chiseled jaw. I mean,
you need your character the way you.
I need the character to look like he's supposed to, not like kind of an aging, chubby admiral. Again, nothing against him personally or his acting. It's just I don't think he looks like
he was. I mean, he was his voice.
Okay, Katie Sackhoff was Bo-Katan. You know what I'm saying? So that fit perfect.
Yeah,
and I think they were trying to keep that going with, I'm going to get all the voice actors that did the voices and put them in as a live action, and it just.
If they had done that, they would have gotten Ashley What's-Her-Bucket as Ahsoka. Who plays Ahsoka, you guys, in the cartoons? Ashley.
I don't even know what the actress, that person, or who did the voice look like. So
she's a little blonde girl. She's just,
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. I guess. So
Ashley Eckstein.
So Denise Go, who plays Deidre Miro.
Yeah, Denise.
I kept calling it Nero, but I guess it's actually Miro.
It's Miro. Deidre Miro.
I was always joking because she's pretty much. She always has grumpy cat face.
Oh, she acknowledges that. Have you seen her in the interview?
No.
She's like, my entire family is like Denise. What is her name? Denise? Yeah, Denise. It's like, what is going on? You always just look.
Well, if you look at other pictures of her, like, you know, regular, she doesn't have this, but for some reason, this
Sour.
whole show, the whole time it's Grumpy Cat.
Self-described as sour and long. And she goes, even I couldn't believe the faces I was pulling a lot of the times on this show.
Oh, I mean,
that's why when I'm not working, I try to, like, you know, I wear all the makeup and I try to smile and be really soft and pretty so that I don't look like Dedra. You know,
look like Dedra all the time, because Dedra just, like, she's scary. Just, man,
Dedra is mean. Yeah, Dedra seems like
scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
So I think, and I thought it was interesting how they put her and Cyril together.
And Cyril, like, how did that work?
And then the whole storyline with Cyril and his mother, I thought was hysterical.
Yeah, well, the mother served a purpose. The mother shows you what the Empire is pumping out. That's how you see what the Empire.
Oh yeah.
What they're doing, like, you know, their propaganda and all that.
The propaganda.
Because the mother's believing all that propaganda, hook, line, and sinker.
But she's also he's a mama's boy.
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't really want to be, but she clearly wants to control every aspect of his life. That scene where he goes in the bedroom when she has him over for dinner and he kind of flops on the bed. Apparently that was ad-libbed.
Yeah. Which, as one does when one's mother is embarrassing one in front of one's girlfriend. You just throw yourself dramatically on the bed.
Well, I like the way, again, that Miro kind of, she ends up telling the mother off, like, okay, this is how this is going to work.
She does, and I thought for a hot minute the mother had been put in her place, but not really.
But she kind of faded away after that. I mean,
she did fade away
after she realized that when she was watching the news, she had a bit of a revelation because she was watching the news of all the stuff going on Gorham there, or whatever, Gore, and realized that her son is in the middle of this, not realizing that her son is literally in the middle of it because he was partly, you know, involved in the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I thought that was great. That we talked about it already, but the whole scene where he's about to shoot Cassium, and Cassium's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, just about to say,
and you can see it in his face. Yeah, and he gets shot. Yeah, that was wonderful comeuppance for that character.
Yeah.
So it's pretty obvious to us and to everyone watching. We loved Andor. We loved the way it segues into Rogue One. We like the way Rogue One segues into A New Hope. But if I had to criticize anything, if I had to offer any criticism, and I just realized it because I did watch the last 3 of Andor. I've been watching Andor, and then I watched the last 3. I immediately watched Rogue One, and then we watched A New Hope. And when you do it, when you watch all of that and you get to A New Hope, I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe these words, these sacrilege words are coming out of my mouth, but it makes A New Hope look silly, like immature, juvenile. Can you believe it? Because Andor is serious.
I understand what you're saying.
These people are dying for this cause, and then you get to A New Hope.
It's not as dark as Andor or Rogue One.
It's not as dark.
Rogue One was also very dark. Again, it was kind of an adult Star Wars. You had these guys that were on this planet. They all knew they weren't coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the Battle of Yavin, we lost a lot of ships and stuff, but at the end, hey, we won. Boo, yay.
Yay.
But at the end of Rogue One, you didn't really have that. You know what I'm saying? They lost a lot of ships. They lost a lot of people. The people on the ground
they lost a lot at the Battle of Scarif.
And the only thing that was a victory for the rebellion, but it was a huge cost. Huge cost.
And if I were George Lucas, instead of going back and retrofitting A New Hope to have more creatures in there, whatever had Han not shooting for, what the hell he did, I'd go back and retrofit it to make it say how dire things were after the losses at the Battle of Scarif, and then get into the rest of it. You know what I mean? Just to sort of
we never really got to see that anyway, because Leia was the only surviving really that we know of. I mean, there might have been some crew on that Corellian Corvette,
Leia and some of the crew,
but you know, because she immediately got captured, we didn't see her for half the movie after that.
You see the officer that handed her what is it? And she said, "Oh, they've given us hope." That officer that hands her that is supposed to be the one that Vader is choking. Remember, he picks one up and he's choking him. Yeah, supposedly, but I.
So my point is that we never really got to see nobody was really able to explain, oh, by the way, this is what happened at Scarif, or to get to this point, is because everything was going. Because if you look at A New Hope, it takes place over a very short period of time.
Yeah, it does. But then so does Rogue One. Rogue One is really short, time-wise.
Well, yeah, it's just from the time they pick up Jyn to.
I just wish, like, when in New Hope, when he blew Alderaan up, I wish they would have taken a moment to acknowledge Bail has just died. Millions of people have just. I mean, I really wish they would have driven home how, a couple more times, sort of in the beginning of that movie, just how dire.
Again, it was made at a different time.
I know.
It was made without thinking any of this other stuff was already made. I don't think he should ever gone back and changed it. Period.
Well, no,
regardless of how or why it should stay.
Neither do I. And I'm not criticizing. New Hope will always be my first love. It is my first love, and I love it best. But when I now link these all up, there's a bit of a disconnect, at least in my mind. It's hard to link them up, but they link up so beautifully. They link up,
and we've talked about the end scene where Vader comes in. That was an 11th hour ad to that movie. Which I think it was brilliant because, we talked about Vader kind of becoming this sympathetic character, especially with Anakin, knowing his backstory. But I think that one, to me, that scene is what they go, that's what Vader should always be. Vader should be the guy that you are terrified beyond belief. If you see him, we see him, let alone whether he's after you or not. You know what I'm saying? That's,
yeah, you want to be in the dark and just hear that breathing and be terrified.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's what Vader was. I don't want to know that, he was a nice little kid one time and, and blah, blah, blah. And he was, had all these things happen to him and that's why he's bad now. I'm like, no, to me, Vader was a bad guy, period. And end of story.
Jeff just pointed out that it was a little cherry picked. I just realized I was just complaining, like, hey, Rogue One was so serious, and then A New Hope was so fluffy. There was plenty of other fluff in the prequels and the sequels that I did not like. So you know what? Maybe I should just.
Well, that's why I say that I think Andor and Rogue One are kind of almost this island where.
Little island.
Again, I've said this like 1,000 times. I sound like a broken record, but Lucas made Star Wars for children. And then the adults all the movies that are associated with the Empire was very dark.
Empire was dark, yeah.
So that's why we have the cutesy little things and the droids and all these little things that are fun. And we don't have that in like Rogue One. We don't have it in Andor's because this was more.
Yeah, because they never planned to sell toys off of Rogue One. Although I'm sure there's models.
There are toys. There was toys, I think. I mean, it was only a PG. It wasn't like it was rated for R or something that, I think it was dark in the sense that, you see the rebellion
sacrificing
having to do things. And I even said that with the cartoons. I'm like, the cartoons were supposed to be for kids. And there's people dying. I guess they felt like stormtroopers and clones were completely expendable because they were like in those suits and we didn't really see them as human.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I can think of because they died the most in the TV shows.
It didn't bother me when those dumb Roger robots died. Okay, whatever.
Well, because those are robots, we don't care about that.
But the clones, it bothered me a little bit, especially as the whole point of that series was to flesh out how all the clones each had their own independent they
ended up having that was remember the clones. We only saw them in Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, and we didn't really get to know them. They were they were essentially robots.
Yeah,
flesh-built robots. That's how the movies portrayed them. And then we got the TV shows, which showed a different side that they did have individuality, which makes sense because if you're going to give them somewhat free will, each of them is going to have a different,
of course,
experience in life once they get out of Camino. Right? Yeah. They're going to have different experiences, and it's going to change them. That's what builds people. That's how why our personalities the way they are. It's not just genetics, it's our life experience. So that's why even twins aren't exactly alike when they grow up. So anyway, we are off topic, but
that's okay. We do that when we talk about Star Wars. We just get all over the place.
Hey, Alex McDonald's, how are you? Nuggets. What else we're getting near the end of the hour. I don't know. I mean, I keep talking about this show. It's just so good.
It's so good.
We didn't really talk about a lot of the cast, but
beautifully crafted from beginning from beginning of Andor to end of Rogue One, beautifully crafted.
I did like how they got when we got to that last episode and Mon Mothma's got the Mon Mothma. They redid her do, and for some reason now
they made her look.
They did the do, and they colored her hair to match.
Well, she's hanging out with the rebels now. She doesn't have all her designer clothes and a hairdresser. Yeah,
to make her blonde.
So she would have to look more.
But she did look. When we first saw her, what was it? Was it in Rogue One that she played Mon Mothma? I think it was. And
no, we saw her. No, we saw Mothma. Hang on, let me look the character up. I feel like we saw her.
Riley, who's been in a ton of stuff. But I'm trying to think when I think it was Rogue One when we saw her, because we didn't see her. Well, we saw her in Jedi, right? That was the first time we saw Mon Mothma. And I don't know what other movie. We wouldn't have seen her in any of the prequels.
Revenge of the Sith. We saw her in Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's a lie. I'm lying to you. Those scenes were cut from the final movie. I am sorry.
Was it? Yeah, who was the actress, too?
Genevieve was meant to have been in Revenge of the Sith, and it didn't happen.
Okay, so because Revenge of the Sith was what year was that?
2005.
2005 and Rogue. So we're talking 10, 11 years later, they did Rogue One. So, but my point was that she once they did her makeup and had the hairdo, she looked a lot like the original.
Oh yeah,
actress,
she did.
Who I'm ashamed I don't know the name of. Many Bothans died for this information.
Yeah, that was Caroline Blackiston in Return of the Jedi. Many Bothans died.
Yeah. But they did a really good job. She did a really good job of kind of portraying that character, recreating that character. So I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Trying to think of who else. And again, yeah, we kind of covered everybody.
We saw a couple of people. You do see people in Rogue One that you would end up seeing in A New Hope. But
right. Especially on the ground there when they get the U-wing.
Some of those rebels, yeah.
Yeah, I love that they keep doing the same thing though. Like they just keep leaving, and it's the same voice. By the way, you're not authorized over the PA system, which I believe is the director's voice.
They also had when they attacked, there was a Red 5. Of course, they had to be a Red 5, who of course died because he had to die, so that
he had to die, right?
But then all the other Reds, and there was one of them that had a very distinctive accent, and they not Southern, but they had a funny way with his R's. And they had that voice going.
Okay, so I think we covered this, but in Rogue One, they took original footage and
yes, that's right.
From that battle you haven't seen from Rogue Leader,
yes,
or from Red Leader rather, and they used it in Rogue One because they didn't. It was cutting room floor a bit for Star Wars, and then they brought it so that fit. So that was his voice because he was still beautiful. Red Leader.
Yeah.
So that's another little thing that they took the effort, the time to do that.
But yeah, you just hear familiar voices, and you're like, and it's stunning that after all these years, people of our age have seen this movie possibly hundreds of times. These voices are ingrained in our brains, like we recognize them immediately.
Yeah. Yep, even the droid noises. I can hear the mouse droid in my head.
I can pick up your visuals.
I've seen it so many times. So, yeah, it's crazy. So, anyway, it is just about 8:00. So
it is just about 8. Roy is not having a show this weekend. He will be celebrating his mom's 85th birthday. Happy birthday to Roy's mom!
Congratulations to Mom.
Bill McNulty is going to whichever airport is tomorrow from 10 a.m. to noon to protest because they are doing deportation flights out of MacArthur Airport, Long Island. So Bill McNulty is going to record. God bless him. He's 90 years old. He's going to record everything that's going on for these protests, for these deportations.
This is just so people know. This is WUSB radio.
This is WUSB radio. Sorry, guys. I should have been clear. And then Phil's going to start airing it at noon. So it just.
The stormtroopers are going to come in and pull Phil off. They're going to off the air. You're just going to hear the tone.
Good luck. Good luck to Bill. Bill, you're 90 years old. Don't get arrested. God love you. Fight the power, but just be careful. And then Phil says that later on tomorrow afternoon for his drive time show, he says after all that political stuff, he says my head will be exploding, so I'm just going to play some relaxing music. And of course, he has Friday Night Freeform. So all of that happens on WUSB Stony Brook if you want to listen to real people who you actually know. fight the power. That is where you do that.
Yeah. So, and then tomorrow we'll be in Ticonderoga for Sue Cross's.
Yes, we will all be in
Celebration
Ticonderoga.
of Life, and
driving.
all those who donated to our group donation to the Ladies Fire Auxiliary that Sue was a part of. Thank you very much. We raised about I'm going to bring it up on my own to $2,000 even.
Thank you.
Just we're slightly short of that, but yeah, thanks everybody. Everybody was really generous. I was really taken back. It was about at least 30 people, I think, that donated.
Yeah, who donated?
30 people. Their names will be on the card. Of course, you could still donate directly to the auxiliary, or there was another charity that
it was Friends, Comforting Friends was the other charity, or the Ticonderoga Fire Ladies Auxiliary.
Yeah, so we will be passing that on with a card for Sue. So those that had been to the set tour know who she was. She was like the manager, always behind the counter, kept it together, kept James in line. So unfortunately, that's where we're going to be tomorrow. But
we're going to be careful.
Next week we're going to do one last Star Wars show for the month, and it is a top 10, but I don't know. It's going to be a Star Wars top 10. We were doing Star Trek top 10s. We're going to do Star Wars top 10.
That's the Star Wars top 10, yeah.
It's going to be a Star Wars top 10. I don't know what the top 10 is going to be. We'll come up with something, but if you have some suggestions, please feel free to let us know.
We're all going to pick the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, ships. There's a bunch of ships, but it's
Rebellion
what you're going to hit. You're going to hit X-Wing. Yeah, Millennium Falcon, Corvette, Star Destroyer. I mean, it's kind of obvious. There's really not a lot of broad enough. I think we'll come up with something, maybe just characters.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
We'll figure it out. But like I said, we will always welcome suggestions on those things. So, and then we'll be back to Star regular.
That'll be June.
That'll be June. I don't know what we're doing for June.
And I will be officially pulling my hair out because we'll be closing in on Shep.
This weekend is the Orthodox Star Wars holiday, and I will be pulling out I think I'm going to pull out the LPs, Story of Star Wars.
You're pulling out the LPs? I'm just going to watch 525 because I feel like
I might do that too. I might do that too. Yeah, I have that on Blu-ray. So good movie if you haven't seen 525.
Everybody go watch 525/77.
Yeah, it's good.
Especially if you were part of the fan films, go watch 525.
If you're part of the fan films, and especially if you were around in 77. And
if you were alive in 77.
You really will if you haven't seen it, you'll focus right in on it and get it. So all right, on that note, I will say good night. We'll live long and prosper, and may the force be with you always.
Bye.
Good night.